Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Druid's Rune, the audio journal of one Druid trying to figure everything out. Today, we had originally announced that Druid's Rune episode 4 would be about the virtue of silence. We've decided to bump that back an episode to episode 5. Episode 4 is actually going to be about something seasonal, something that has come to my attention because of some personal experiences that I'm taking as omens of what I need to speak about. I introduce you to Druid's Rune 4, the Druid's Survival Guide to the Christmas season. Yes, it is that time of year when most people in the Western world are celebrating Christmas. And what prompted this change in our intentions for a topic was that I was doing some late night shopping, and I walked into a late night pharmacy / grocery store to get some stuff. And as I was there, one of the staff members who recognized me as being a regular decided to once again approach me about going to his Baptist church with him. And this time I decided to have the conversation about why that would never happen. Not that I have anything against Christianity, but it's got theological problems I cannot agree with. This was not an ugly conversation I had with him. It was kind of informative, and at the end of it, he decided he would probably be best leaving me alone. But as I got to thinking about it, that this time of year, people often assume that since most people in the Western world are Christians, you are too. And so I decided to compose what I call a Druid Survival Guide to the Christmas season. It's got, 6 points that we will talk about really briefly. And we'll start with number 1, people wishing you a Merry Christmas. I have met pagans that get very upset with Christians automatically assuming that the person they're talking to is a Christian. And as a result, they carry a bit of what I call the witch chip on their shoulder. And when someone wishes them a Merry Christmas, they will immediately fire back something like, and a Happy Yule to you too, right? Or they'll snarkily pretend to be a different religion, like, yeah, Kwanzaa season's here, or, Happy Hanukkah, just to shut the person up or make them feel bad about wishing them a Merry Christmas. Well, let's talk about what's actually going on when someone wishes you a Merry Christmas. Most people in the Western world are nominally Christian. They are not Bible thumpers, nor are they evangelists, nor are many of them exceptionally devout and pious. They go to church during Christmas season. This is what their family has always done. They believe in the Judeo-version Christian of God because it's what their family has historically believed in. They aren't theologians. They aren't trying to convert you. When they wish you a Merry Christmas, they're simply doing something that is culturally endorsed. So if you take offense to that from most people, you are the one being an asshole, not them. If someone wishes you a Merry Christmas, they're really saying, hey, I hope everything's going well for you at this time of year. Try to hear it that way. Don't be that kind of person that gets offended whenever somebody wishes you something beneficial from their worldview. A good example is when Christians normally wish someone, and you have a blessed day, or, God bless you. And we all know the pagan that will say, and goddess bless you too. Do you really think you're scoring any points or spreading any friendship and brotherly love or sisterly love by that comment and that display? No. All you're doing is creating animosity and drawing a line in the sand and trying to emphasize your differences with them. Many of these people who are going to be wishing you Merry Christmas are casual contacts. If you take that line of taking umbrage to what they're wishing you, you are instilling in them that pagans are jerks. I would really like for that to stop. Now, conversely, I understand why this happens. You may have had experiences, particularly if you've had an evangelist at your doorstep, trying to convince you to adopt their religious worldview and getting upset about it when you don't. And we'll address that further on in the survival guide. But realize that most people aren't that person. The second way to survive the seasonal holidays: invitations to Christmas parties. Invitations to Christmas parties are kind of a loaded proposition. It depends on the type of party in question. If it's an invitation to a business Christmas party, go. Because these are your colleagues and your workers. They don't need to feel like you don't like them. That can harm your professional career. If it's friends and acquaintances, go. They are inviting you into their circle. They are trying to establish the bonds of friendship, much as in aforementioned wishing you a Merry Christmas. And if you don't go, all you're doing is giving them a subconscious message of, hey, I'm not part of your group, I'm not like you, don't invite me over, or don't talk to me. It might even be taken as being snobbish. So just don't do that. If it's family, and the family isn't pagan, but you are, and this is something many pagans in the States in particular have the experience with, you probably need to go. And you also need to take anything that is said that is religious in nature with a grain of salt and let it slide off, because this is your family. You need to get along with these people. You, after all, would expect them to respect your religious choices if they came to your Yule rite or to your Arthurun, and if you're Astarar, if they came to your Winter Nights festival. You would expect them to obey your rules in your house. You need to obey theirs. Again, it's just kind of common sense and courtesy, and if you're going to maintain a relationship with your family, and the family has differing religions, quite common here in the States, that's the only way to make that work. How many couples do you know that have a mixed religious background? I myself know several, particularly in the case of Catholics marrying Jews or in Protestants marrying Jews and vice versa. And they have made that work. If they can make that work and have a family, you can suffer someone singing Christmas carols around a Christmas tree. Just go with it. It's family. They don't have to always agree, but they do have to be treated with love and respect. And if you snub them at the party, it's not going to be taken with love and respect. Gifts, the third thing we have to deal with. Often at this time of year, because of corporations over-commercializing what the Christmas holiday is about, you have to suffer through somebody giving you a gift and expecting one in return. And yeah, that's some bullshit. There's no other way around that. The best thing I could recommend you do is get them a card back if you can't afford to give them a gift. Now, if you get them a gift back or get them a card and they say that you're being cheap and they're spreading that about you among your groups of friends, bring up to all the friends that, hey, you didn't ask for the gift. It was a gift, and a gift by its nature is supposed to be given freely. And then that puts the onus back on them. If, however, you have a friend that made you a gift, and it is, I'm going to use an example here that might not happen to you, but it has happened to me in the past. If you have a friend who's a blacksmith and they make you a sword, and they don't tell you about it, and they show up at the holiday season with it for you, oh boy, do you owe them. I am of the opinion that if someone crafted you something, or if someone did a service for you as the gift for the holiday season, you owe them a like service in return. Not only because it represents that you're not being a cheat and being someone who's a mooch, but represents you're not taking them for granted. And when they do that kind of service to you and give of their time and their effort or their skill set, you definitely need to return that in kind somehow as best you can. However, if you have someone who's giving you gifts just to get you obligated to them, return the gift to them privately later and explain why. I would, however, do that after the holiday season is over. Now, perhaps the most prevalent thing that you have to deal with as a pagan during the Christmas season, the music. The music keeps starting earlier and earlier every year. Have you noticed? I mean, this year in my area, the music started in mid-November. Mid-November, well before Thanksgiving. What can you do? Well, you can try to tune it out as best you can. If you have to go shopping, take an iPod. If you are subjected, however, to having to listen to music, particularly if it's music that's religious in nature and not like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, but something like Oh Holy Night, you have a couple of options. The first thing I do is I resort to the silent music in the head. I sing something to myself in my head and tune it out. The second thing is try to enjoy it as best you can. If I am watching a friend's child performing in a cantata, since I'm there for my friend and their child, I'm going to enjoy the performance as much as I can and watch my friend's child and their skill. If you can't take it from that point of view, suck it up. I mean, after all, if it were penance, for those pagans that celebrate penance, if it were penance and the tournament's in full swing and you got bands playing fair music, we expect everyone to kind of, get into the swing of things. So there you go. All right. Carolers. Carolers are kind of related to the music thing, but caroling is a bit trickier. When a bunch of people show up unannounced on your doorstep and start singing and expect you to be appreciative, and maybe even expect you to give them like warm mead or warm ale or something, or coffee or tea, it can be quite the trial, particularly if you're in an area where being a minority religion is not tolerated and one of the carolers gets snotty. And I've had that happen to me too. If that is what occurs, again, it's your house, shut the door. But most of the time, carolers just want you to clap, applaud, maybe give them something hot to drink if it's cold. That's not an unreasonable request, particularly if, you're just going to give them some hot tea or something that's not going to put you out financially speaking. I myself have made it a practice that if I ever get any carolers, to offer them hot tea or hot coffee, because it's going to be cold. And, you want to be friendly. If you've really got a problem, though, and to you it really feels like proselytization, if you just don't open the door most of the time, carolers will go away. Next, religious conversion attempts. Religious conversions attempt this time of year are probably the number one concern most pagans have, and are likely to experience. Here's why, and I don't think some pagans understand this. Many pagans in the state, having come out of the monotheistic traditions, understand this. But as things are starting to change in society, and more people are becoming agnostics or secular, or more people are just getting wrapped up in their own interests rather than study other people's religions, you may lose why Christmas is such a big deal to Christians. The two major holidays of the Christian faith are Christmas and Easter. Easter because it's the resurrection of their slain sacrifice Lord, and they see that as the accumulation of promises made by God to man, and so that is their major holiday to celebrate. It used to be the major holiday in the Christian faith, period, hands down, no questions asked. But in the modern era, Christmas has taken precedence because at Christmas, you get stuff. I mean, it's kind of hard to argue with a holiday that's about giving people gifts, everybody getting together and feeling good, and families seeing one another again and having hope for a better future. And in the Christian religion, Christmas is the hope for the better future. The birth of Christ in their religion is the start of how they see the spiritual world getting better. So this time of year, if someone's trying to convert you to the Christian way of thinking, and you don't want to be converted, be polite, because this is the time of year that they are thinking about it. And for most of them, to their way of thinking, they are convinced, not that you are necessarily wrong and sinful, they are convinced that you are lost. And this is a major difference in how most Christians see their religion, at least here in the States, than how the media often portrays them. Most Christians are not jackasses. Most of them are not intolerant. But their religion teaches them that only through Christianity is someone assured of getting to a positive afterlife. Well, if you honestly believed that you have the one true answer and that everybody else is going to suffer who doesn't have that answer, it then becomes logical that you're going to tell people about this answer so that they have the chance to get where you're going. You're essentially trying to bring about the good things you think will happen to you to other people. And this happens with anything that human beings believe in, so don't be shocked when they come and they ask you, hey, do you know about Jesus? Now, depending on the kind of evangelist and proselytization attempt you get, you need to handle it carefully, tactfully, or just dismiss it out of hand. Most of the time when someone asks you about Jesus, they are sincere and they're honestly concerned about you. Keep that in mind when you relate to them. Because of that honest concern, you might want to consider having a religious conversation with them about why you disagree with Christianity. Be informed on that conversation, because if you're going to disagree with someone, you should be able to articulate why. And we may go into podcasts later about the problems I see in Christian theology, which is why I left the religion. But at no point be rude, even if they're becoming rude. Because like it or not, most people in the West are Christians, at least nominally. And if you're rude back, that will get around and people will see you as such. If we are ever going to have a Western world where pagans, druids, and heathens are seen as something other than the bad caricatures in comic books and television shows, we have to gain a reputation for being civil and polite and intelligent and eloquent. Kind of hard to do that when you wear shirts like, your God has a cross, my God has a hammer, any questions? Kind of hard to foster goodwill when someone wishes you a Merry Christmas and you say, yeah, Happy Yule to you too. You got to be kind. To quote the great philosophers Bill and Ted, you have to be excellent to other people. If you get a proselytization attempt that is aggressive, they're in your face, they're pushing, they're claiming things about your religion that is not true. I'm not saying back down, but you might want to consider civilly ending the conversation. In particular, if you get the thing about, well, you guys are just worshiping the devil, you need to correct that. You need to stand up for, no, the devil's part of your religion, not ours. You wouldn't say that to a Jew. You wouldn't say that to a Muslim. I'm not even sure that most Christians would say that to a Buddhist. But you just simply need to correct that misconception. Put it out there. Even if they don't believe it, if you're seen correcting it, it helps circumvent the damage of that lie or that misconception. If you get someone who's belligerent, definitely leave the conversation. Tune them off and don't have it anymore. This is the worst case scenario. And it may happen during the holidays, particularly if there's alcohol flowing. If you're at a party, alcohol tends to go with Christmas parties in most places. Don't drink, because most of those people are going to be drinking. And if you're drinking and they're drinking and they get upset, well, you can see where that's going to go. Okay, so those are just some quick thoughts about surviving the holiday season. According to my clock here, we are barely at 17 minutes of audio. That's probably the shortest mainline Druid's Rune section we've ever done. So we're going to leave that there, and I will see if I can add some material to this with blessings and things about this particular season. Maybe I'll also do some talk about the Druid holiday that's coming up this time of year, Albin author on, and we'll go from there. Someone wishes you a Merry Christmas and you say you've got to be kind.